Okay, troops, stay alert. G.I. Joe has a new operative. When do they not? Am I right?
Must be Tuesday.
I need you to be serious. Apparently this is a big... Oh, Commander? Maybe there is something to this. If you watch my back, I'll watch... Dude, this definitely isn't like the ninjas we're used to. Ugh. Come out wherever you are. What in the hell? Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh overview. Today, let's take a little look at the Fury Toys Ancient Power Samurai Animal Spring, or in our circles, the not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not Leonardo. It's third party. They changed the design a bit, even though it's unmistakably an homage to TMNT. And there's even an included custom kit that blurs those lines even more. Wait a second. But when it comes to the four brothers, I can't help myself. If you change up the design, the style, the aesthetic just slightly, I'm like, oh, I need another set. And we've been waiting for this. So, looking at the package, very mysterious. What is in here? On the side, just more of that graphic wrapping around. On the back, same thing, but we got the warnings. No matter the size here, don't put it in your mouth. On the other side, more graphics, same thing on top, on bottom. Let's open it. Just a little tape, little flap, some tray. That's pretty nice. And yep, out of the package, as you've probably seen, it is small. Zoom. But oh so badass. Like a little bundle of plastic fury. After putting it through paces and getting a feel for it and everything, it really reminds me of this Nicktoons Leonardo. Now, if I remember right, Playmates released this before the cartoon, right? Where the design was similar, but not quite what we saw in the series. But I always liked this set better than the set where they fixed it. And this feels like a dark and gritty updated version of this. Just overall proportions. The heads are different sizes, but when it comes to the arms and the muscles and the hands and the feet, it's uncanny. But the Fury Toys version just goes whole hog with the little sculpted details, the texture of the skin with the musculature and everything, coming down to the wraps around the wrists. There's some padding on the back of the fingerless gloves. Same thing at the legs, just very turtley with the bumps, and it's heavy duty knee pads, and then some shin guards, and extra guard up on top. The wraps and straps holding all that on. Got some toenails poking out, and I haven't even looked on the hands. Oh, yep, there's fingernails too. The shell continues that organic feel to it, but on the back, it's even better. Look at that. There's all these spirals and twisties and twirlies inside each little panel of the shell. There's the leather strap coming across with the wrinkles and the extra design work. Oh, and I missed the pads on the back of the forearms in the wraps. The straps come all the way around to the front, and the buckles and the throwing stars. That comes up over the shoulder with a silver shoulder pad. That'll come into play in a minute when we're... Ooh, I got a nitpick there. Because the head is just full-on samurai helmet. See some eyes peeking out right above the face cover. Extra detail work with the seams and the studs. Oh, it looks so good. Then the crest on the front has this moon shape right there in the center. The points are a softer plastic. Those were kind of crooked out of the package. I put some heat to it and they seem to straighten out for the most part. And yes, if you move the soft goods out of the way, there is a tail under there. It does curl back, and it's not as noticeable as other times when we've seen the tail just hanging down, but if you're looking for it, you're gonna see it. More than all that, it's the paint. They went above and beyond here. The shading to the yellows on the shell and the transitions from a darker green to a lighter yellowish whitish green. It's so subtle. You almost miss it until you're really up on it looking for it. The wash and the dry brushing to the blue wraps, it just makes it look old and worn, like Spring has been wearing this for a long, long time. I forgot to point out that all that goes under the foot too. Even the extra paint work. See how much lighter it comes up around to the dark green, and then the blues? Didn't even skimp on the wash down there. The eyes almost have a glow to them. They're white, but there's some extra paint work around them. The metal on the crest and the shoulder pad and the shuriken, it's silver, but it's tarnished a bit. It has some shading to it. Same thing with the brown straps, but you know what I'm about to say. They did each and every little rivet and stud. It's so pretty. The wash and dry brushing continues around the back. The shell even has a little bit shiny silver studs in the knee pads and the blue flourishes to the shin armor and down here. It's just a good looking figure. The wrap around the neck, the scarf top thing, is soft goods. It's frayed. It's frazzling. It looks like worn denim. In fact, it kind of looks like he's wearing jeans around his neck. I wish there was a wire so I could get it into action poses, but I'm also really happy it drapes nicely. In regular position, it stays down. It doesn't do the, okay, I'm just gonna stay up here. Then there's soft goods at the tie on the front of the belt too with the hangy downs. Usually I don't care for a design element that changes mediums in the middle, like here's plastic to cloth. But I'm looking at this and this is supposed to be leather and this is not. For some reason, I'm thinking this is just like a different piece of something on the front of the belt. At least that's how I'm looking at it, especially since that easily gets out of the way of articulation. Now, I do have a couple of nitpicks, and it's not about size. In fact, I kind of like the size. The paint did peel away at the tight hinges at the elbows and then at the ankle. In most poses, this armor piece will cover that up, but if you get crazy, like he's leaping or something, you'll see it. They did make the joint blue, which does fade into the rest of the design, but you can see it. And it's the same at the elbow. The joint underneath is the same color plastic, so it's not really obvious. You have to go looking for it. There's also the single hinge to the elbows that only gets you 90, but I've gotten a bunch of poses that I wanted. Sure, I would love for it to come all the way up, but it's not a deal breaker in this case. Again, I'm getting this vibe where when I first bought it, I thought, well, that's not a lot. There's not even ankles, but I've had a ball with this over the years. I feel like it's going to be the same thing here. And then a design element that caught me off guard. There's this shoulder pad sticking up, and with the samurai helmet on, you can already see it, right? Nice tilt to this direction, but it's not going to go to the left. For some neat engineering though, there are double knees, but look how they did the pins. It's not pin visible. You can still see the outer ring, but they put the texture on there, the skin tone and everything, to where it just kind of fades in with the rest of the body. Then for the mid-torso joint, it's cut across here, but then the whole shell is attached to it. Now, it will get in the way if you're trying to arc back, but you do get some crunch and some twist out of it, so it's not bad while not really being obvious. Articulation-wise, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck, so you get some shift forward and back, shift side to side. There is some up, plastic on plastic violence right there. More down. Tilt, one direction, side to side. Pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates all the way around, and then it hinges up to here. Hinge and swivel at the elbow gets you to there, and then in and out. There's a dumbbell joint at the wrist. Some up, some down, some out, some in, rotation. Dumbbell joint at the mid-torso, get some crunch, tilt, tilt. Some rotation. Again, the shell is going to run into the body as it rotates. Wacky aside, right out of the package, I grabbed it and went to twist the torso. I was like, that doesn't do shit. I was holding onto the shell in the back. Essentially holding the same piece, trying to move it. You got to get below it to get some movement. Ball coming out to the hip, raises up to here, back, out, right about there. And for some reason, the left doesn't go as far. You get a little rotation up there. Double knee, like I said, kicks the shell out of his ass. Hinge at the ankle, very tight, goes back to there. Forward, more than I thought. And then front-facing pin for rocker. Comes with two kunai, is that what these are called? Have silver to the blades, and then the handles are eye-catching. The sculpt, the wash, and sharp. Look out for that. The hands are a sculpted closed grip, which will come into play here in a minute, but for these, just boop, not a problem at all. Because there's also these bad boys. Have the silver to the blade, black up on top, the wraps down here again with the dark wash. Again, these slip right in, not a problem at all. But there's also these chains included. Nice coppery color to them. There's a weight on one end and then just a ring on the other. Now I'm guessing you take the ring and open it up. Then you can feed that through the end here. Close it back up and you're good to go. But the problem is, this is a closed grip hand. That ring is wider than the hole. Well, you can't get the weight through. Are you supposed to leave the chain off, put it in his hand, and then attach it below? Maybe? I like the chain, but I don't need it on there, especially with the weapons looking this cool. He can just be holding them. And then, like I mentioned, there's also this custom kit that comes with some parts to spruce it up a bit. Like I showed a minute ago, the hands pop right off. Then you can swap on these open expressive hands. You're gonna have to put the grip hands back on though, because there's also two swords. Just short, chunky katana, and look at the paint job again. Oh man, I love it. There's pegs on the scabbards and then peg holes in the back. Nice and secure, not bad. And then like the other weapons, just right in. And then to complete that look, there's also this alternate head. I like the little scars here, like he's been in battle. The skin texture, the skin tones, the dry brush to the blue, the soft goods here on the back. It just looks fantastic. But for me, when I zoom back out and look at the overall piece with this head on it, it changes the proportions completely. Once again, maybe it's because of this, and I think of, this size head on this size body. This is the first time I'm looking at it with this head on here, so maybe it'll take a minute for me to adjust, to acclimate to this. Really, it's the same size head, but it has all this on top of it to make it seem larger. Forgot to mention the sword's going into here. There's a nice tension to it. They aren't falling out. Well, it's already kind of growing on me now that I've done the standing there in a vanilla pose look. Spring stands at about 4 5/16, which really does come off small next to your Hasbro Star Wars Black Series or your comic book Marvel Legends. But I kind of like it too. It's unexpected that they're just going to jump up and kick your ass. Maybe they can join G.I. Joe. Run around in a universe far, far away. Medicom Mafex Hush Batman. 3-0 Valiant Comics Bloodshot. It's a bit better here than it is here. Kind of like Bandai's SH Figuarts movie figures, whether it be DC or Marvel. But then Medicom's Nolan Trilogy Mafex figures run smaller too, closer to 1/12 scale. I accept you into our group, little buddy. Just for fun, since I was digging in the Figuarts box anyway, here's Harry Potter and Bruce Lee. He's ours, motherfucker! But like I said, this is the vibes I get from the feel, from the proportions. Just a lot more realistic. But then here it is with some Super 7 Ultimates offerings, alongside Playmate's recent crossover with Stranger Things, NECA's video game Turtles, and then the NECA Mirage Shredder and Leo. So at the end of the day, I know I should be looking at a bunch of factors like price and size and everything, but I can't help it. I love it. Everything about the figure just wins me over. The sculpts, the paints, the proportions, the overall feel. Even though it's limited in places, it doesn't diminish my enjoyment. I mean, initially I thought, well, I can't bend, get out of the way, here. But the more I messed with it, the more I thought, well, hell, it's not falling over because of those big old feet and the weight and just how it balances out. It's great. Now my big problem is, do I want it as samurai or ninja? I bought it for ninja, but the samurai is just too cool too. Really, it does a lot more than I expected it to do. Yeah, it is a $50 4-inch figure, but most of the time these days, import 6-inch from higher profile companies than this are more expensive than that. There's a nice assortment of accessories and options. I still wish there was fists and maybe an opening grip hand that was kind of rubbery. That would have been cherry on top. But for me, even more than sculpt, it's the paint. A lot of companies these days, don't really put a lot of washes or dry brushes to it. And here, it's just enhanced. It's damn beautiful. And look, no hands, no supports, no nothing. It takes a minute to get the balance, but once you have it, you can just throw it right back up. Consider me happy. But if this isn't your style, not in your price range, not on your radar, there are plenty of other turtle offerings out there. But for my realistic 6-inch type shelf, I'm calling this 1/12. Even with the size of the head, that's grown on me even more now that I've messed with it even more. This will stand with my Figuarts or whatever else is in that range. If you enjoyed the overview, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. Oh, and nostrils that I'm just now seeing. I've taken pictures, I've messed with it, but I guess the lighting with this pose made me zoom in on them. That doesn't really bother me. Yeah, now that I'm fixating on it, it does look odd with my general idea of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in my head, but at the same time, it adds to the realism, I guess. Do turtles have nostrils? Hell, I don't know. This one does. And I'm good with that. Whatever.